Welcome back to the show. In today's episode, we have a good friend of mine, a business partner, a fellow millennial millionaire, one of the co-founders, co-owners of Sunder Energy, my solar comrade, Michael Gutschmidt.
Howdy. What's going on?
What's up, dude?
Hey.
Long time coming.
Been a long time coming.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Me and Mike have been hanging out all day. We're here for, he's here for SolarCon, which is obviously the annual solar conference.
That's right.
Talk to us, dude. Who are you? What are you about?
Michael Gutschmidt. I grew up in a farming community in a little town in Iowa. So for any of your Frosted Flakes, cereals, corn products, you can thank guys like me for working the fields back in the day.
Appreciate you.
But I knew growing up that I was meant for more than farming and construction and even college just didn't seem like the jam. I really liked playing sports and running around and hanging out with my friends. So I joined the Marine Corps, wanted to go fight bad guys, wanted to serve a greater purpose. And, that was back when I thought everything was true and the government was perfect and, terrorists were all bad and all that. And then I got out of the Marine Corps and I met you in network marketing. I learned that I didn't have to go back to Iowa and go to college and get good grades and work a 9-to-5 job, that I could be an entrepreneur and I could build a business, just by talking to people. And then you transitioned into solar. You were the first one in. You went and made over 10 grand in a month selling solar door to door. I heard about that through a friend. Philip Law told me, oh yeah, Steven just made 10 grand a month selling solar. I was like, what? Heard about this free solar program that you were selling, and came out to Vegas and started crushing. And then shortly after that, the market shut down. 2 months later, the market shut down. So in the middle of winter, you, me, and 20 people moved to Denver, Colorado. In
Frozen tundra.
The frozen tundra. I just remember countless pictures and videos of us with ski masks on. You could only see our eyeballs. Everything else was covered, banging on doors, eating them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
9 to 9.
That's right. It was really cool having you. I always loved, meeting up with you after the doors and after the closing deals to mastermind and just get everyone together around this campfire and have us talking about what we're creating for our lives. We were 22 at the time?
Yeah.
We didn't know anything.
2015, 2016.
Yeah. We didn't know anything. We just knew that we were going to go create a better future for ourselves and become financially independent, that we caught this industry at the right time and we were on the cutting edge of it. And that truly was the case.
It really was, dude. 10 years later, still rocking what you did.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I want to dive into a few things. When it comes to that entrepreneur spirit, why do you think so many people, maybe not so many, but I'm sure you have a ton of people, I have a ton of people I know that got introduced to network marketing, and it feels like it gave them the tools, and a lot of those guys, not everyone, have gone and done bigger and better things. Why do you think that is?
That's a good question. Why did everyone not leave and go succeed?
Yeah, there's a lot of people in my network and probably your network that started in network marketing. You hear it pretty commonly, whether, for me and you as Vima, there's a lot of people in Amway. It seems like it's a pretty common thread to a lot of successful entrepreneur stories.
Yeah.
I think the personal development probably has something to do with it. But why do you think that network marketing, like that weird pyramid scheme, some people call it, but really affiliate marketing, person-to-person, peer-to-peer advertisement, like why do you think that has birthed so many success stories?
Yeah. I mean, it was the dawn of personal development for me. That was the first time that I had someone challenge me to read a book that would teach me how to be a better leader, communicator, businessman. And that revolutionized my life, that I could just go find books at the library, Start With Why or
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. Eric Worre, all these different entrepreneurs. And that blew my mind. And I think that was a catalyst for a lot of people, the independent thought. Instead of getting trained by the government and going through the public school system and getting taught how to be a worker and not a thinker, we became thinkers, and the work helped us become rich. And so I think the access to the personal development, and to be frank, proximity, right? A big key in success is proximity to someone who's making 7 figures in that industry. And I know that you and I were really close with some of the top guys that were making 7 figures. And so if you're thinking about getting into some sort of business, one of the most important things that you can do is be directly connected to someone who's making 7 figures.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I think that's why our industry is so valuable, is because if you join corporate America, you're not hanging out with the CEO. You're not hanging out with the investors. You're not hanging out with the people that are making the big bucks. You're hanging out with your supervisor who's probably making a little bit more than you are.
Right.
Where when you can join a network marketing or direct sales organization, you literally are one or two people away from 7 to 8 figure earners in a lot of these businesses, where you just don't get that in normal corporate America or society.
Right. That's what you need. Proximity is power. And you got to go where, they say success leaves clues, and you got to be around people that have done what you've done and are, have what you want to have, and you'll get it too.
100%. Why do you think, out of a lot of the people that we started with 10 years ago, right? We were just talking how we're both coming up on our 10-year anniversary in solar direct sales this summer. But why do you think there were a lot of people at our first company who were ahead of us, who maybe came from Vivint, who had a lot more experience than us? Maybe they had bigger teams or ahead of us. What do you think separated the people 10 years ago that had the similar mission, dream, and opportunity that maybe aren't in the same position as we are, or really just hasn't necessarily excelled over the last 10 years?
Yeah. I mean, it's two things. Either there were people that were in the game with us who got lazy and got scared of the work. They were, and they got entitled. Their ego came in and they stopped feeling like they were, they started thinking that they were too good for the work. And they thought that there was a quicker way. That's when these crypto, bubbles came out and NFTs came out, and guys thought that I'm going to go make non-value based income. They thought that was the key to life and success. And then there was other guys who were doing pretty well at solar, and they were builders. And again, their ego got in the way, and they thought that they should be the CEO, and they started nitpicking the guys above them. And they started being like falling out of love with the industry. And you just have to humble yourself every day. And like you like to say, chop wood and carry water each and every day. Stay humble to the process, trust the process, and, cover your leaders, and just check your ego every day, because ego has killed more careers and dreams than anything else. I feel like you and I are really good company men. We serve, under Max and Eric's leadership and vision, and their covering has created a really fruitful environment, because how we serve our leaders is how other people are going to serve us. And there's going to be a time and a place and an era where we run our own company one day, but I'm not super in a rush to make that happen, because that us honoring our leaders creates a really good echo through our business.
Well said. Your ego is not your amigo, as some would say. I think one thing to point out for the people listening, because what I'm trying to extract out of this conversation is, a lot of times when you're in it, when you're working in the business, it's hard to sometimes duplicate it. I think me and you have both done a good job over the last decade of duplication and building. In our industry, in the industry of direct sales, you can be a killer salesperson, but if you can't duplicate yourself, you're always going to be limited based on your time, and you don't have much leverage.
Right.
But for those, there's a lot of people listening that maybe are in the direct sales space. Maybe they are in network marketing or drop shipping, or maybe they have their own businesses. And it doesn't really matter what sector you're in. I think a lot of these success principles that we've acquired over the last 10 years exceed any industry, right? They're multi-dimensional. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your mindset, at least as far as I can remember, always coming into this industry, it was never, hey, I want to make the most money possible. Like it was never, hey, I want to build, I want to run a company. It was always, I need to develop the skills. I need to develop the philosophies. I need to develop the individual who I am to eventually become the person to attract that. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's a totally different mindset than most people in today's age that are just trying to have like a monetary exchange versus surrendering to the process to become the person to then attract that monetary exchange.
Totally. Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, they say if you go chase a cat or you go chase a buck, it's going to evade you and try and get away from you. Where if you focus on actually becoming a better person and focus on growing your roots deep, once you make the money, it's going to stay with you. Money made in haste is money lost in haste, where if you focus on becoming a higher value person, the dollars are going to follow. Where very many people think that they're perfect. Their mom told them that they're God's greatest gift to humanity and that everyone else is wrong. And that, they just chase the dollars and they screw and tattoo people. And, we got to focus on becoming higher value people, and the dollars will follow, which it's unique, right? I have sympathy for people because people developed their egos at different time, and people didn't maybe have the same leaders that we had. Maybe they were, under other leaders that didn't have their best interests, but you got to have some discernment and, realize when you're in a room with someone who's doesn't have the high value who maybe has the results, but doesn't have the integrity that you're looking for. You've got to know to maybe find a different room.
Yeah, that's a good point. We look at so many people, we could sit here and name off, 10, 20, 30 of people who maybe were with us, maybe they saw us from afar, people. Right? 100, that either lost faith in the process or they lost their vision. That's one of the things that probably saddens me the most about this industry, or really anyone, whether it's network marketing and Vima, where there were people that were in the trenches. They were doing the home events. They were knocking the doors with us. They were sacrificing. They were away from their family, and they were bought in at that time. And then somewhere along the way, reality beat their dream out of them, or they started drifting, right? Napoleon Hill, the devil started to create that rhythmic drifting. Talk to me a little bit about that, because to be in the same industry and work with the same people for 10 years, it gets a little mundane. It gets a little boring, as some would say, but that's really, I think, where greatness stems. Yeah,
100%. And business is going to ebb and flow. And in the new year, a lot of times you're going to have to do a little bit of rebuilding and go out there and, start pushing on people to get going again. And every single time you just have to say, it's not the because when those seasons come, when the valleys come, most people, their ego kicks in and they say, it's not my fault that I'm in the valley. It's the company's fault, or it's the industry's fault, or maybe I should just go get a job. And they need a change of scenery every time things get hard. It's like, no, I just need to keep planting my roots like a tree. I'm not going to uproot my life. Like if you think of your life as a tree, every time you uproot it and you replant it, it takes a while for the roots to get back to where they were, which prevents the growth of the tree. You've got to stay planted through thick and thin and say, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. I just have to go at it again. I can't give up hope. I can't give up on the dream. I just have to go at it again. And if I go at it again, I'm better than I was before. I have more resources than I do before. And I will inspire others to do the same, where as soon as you give up and you give an inch on the victimhood and the ego talks, it's a quick spiral, dude. It'll snatch your soul quick.
Yeah. It's unfortunate to see.
It breaks my heart. But, it's what makes being a millionaire so valuable. So few people do it, which it's sad to see, because you're right. I had hundreds of our friends that have been on this journey with us who gave up, and they allowed these valleys to last way longer than they needed to. You and I haven't been perfect 365 days a year, but we allowed our valleys to be short. And we always had this internal dialogue and this internal thermostat when things were getting, to the point where you would start losing guys and things would start falling apart, that we would go out and, blaze the path again. And some people just like to blame instead of taking ownership.
Where do you think that comes from? Because I think we're onto something. And, as leaders, it's our job to duplicate those philosophies into other people. And for those that are listening, again, whether you're in direct sales or you're not, these success principles, these philosophies, these paradigm shifts are applicable to anything they do. What do you think that is? Like, what do you think that secret sauce is for those that start at the same route? They have the same resources, same circumstances, same challenges, same everything, yet one goes to fully maximize the opportunity, change their life, make millions of dollars, make massive impact, and the other person doesn't. Is that just them quitting too quick? Is it them not doing the personal development that they need to? I'm sure it's a mixture of those things, but what do you think?
I mean, something that, resonates with me is them also wanting to be normal and human. Like the amount of sacrifice that you have to give to stay that consistent and take that much ownership. I remember an ungodly amount of Saturdays when I would be out at 8 a.m. tearing people up. Where are you at? XYZ rep. It's Saturday. You said you want to hit these goals. You should be out on the doors right now. And I remember as I'm going out there knocking, I would see all these families at the parks. I'm like, damn, I want to be at the park playing catch with my friends. Or I'd look at all my broke friends on Instagram chasing tail at the beach. I'm like, damn, I just want to be a normal dude and go enjoy life in my 20s. And you truly have to be willing to surrender and sacrifice some of your golden years to live the rest of your life at an extraordinary level. And some people just, it's a long journey. It is a marathon. It's a ultra marathon. It truly is. And a lot of people give up and they just want to go party and they just want to be validated by normal people. And I don't know how to describe it completely, but maybe that helps.
Yeah. The society trap, you know, I think I was programmed, thankfully, during my early 20s from all the personal development to really like be able to identify when I am off course, right? To be able to have the awareness for a course correct. Like when you find yourself on the side of the majority, you're on the wrong side, right? 3% of the world owns 97% of the wealth and probably 90% of the influence, 97% of the impact. So when you find yourself on the side of the majority, that should be a red flag that you are on the wrong side. And I think too many people, they make these micro decisions because we have thousands of decisions that we make every single day, right? Where I'm going to wake up when I said I'm going to hit the field when I say I'm going to say no to this invite to this party. I'm going to go to bed early, wake up early, whatever it is. We have these micro decisions. And I think just like everything else, like the more rhythm that you get into making decisions that are moving you forward towards your goals versus away from them, eventually you wake up 10 years from now and you have something that you've created that you're proud of. Where others wake up 10 years from now and they don't know how they got to where they are because they didn't have the self-awareness to make the necessary course corrects during those micro decisions.
Totally. It's a pleasure trap too. People pursue pleasure over purpose because pleasure is easier now than ever before. You know, video games, going out, seeing boobies, it's easier now than ever before to get caught up in those cycles where you've got to get rid of those things and surrender those things to pursue your greater purpose and just never look back.
100%, dude. Let's talk about excellence a little bit. When I look at you, Mike, I feel a standard of excellence, right? From the way you carry yourself to obviously the results in the marketplace, to your fitness and your body and the lifestyle that you created.
Thanks, bro.
Where does that come from? And how can more people curate that standard of excellence for their own life?
Yeah, that's interesting. I would honestly say that it's rooted in my faith. You know, if you are a person of faith, if you especially are a Christian and you believe in Jesus, like all Christians are warriors. We're part of God's army by design. And my name's Michael. I always, since I was young, would pray and I would always think of the Archangel Michael and I would always pray to God and be like, dude, when I get to heaven, I want a spear and a shield and wings. And I have always wanted to be a warrior. And be, every time that I would watch movies, I love watching war movies where there's the protagonist, the Leonidases, the Achilleses, the Bravehearts, these elite warriors, these excellent warriors that trained and worked and battled harder than anyone else. That always spoke to me. And that is life. That is life. You know what I mean? You're either the one who's the more that you sweat in training, the less that you bleed in combat. And I've always wanted to be the one that outworked people. I'm not the most gifted. I was never the greatest at sports, but I've always had it in me that I can outwork people. And if you aren't that skilled, you can make up for in effort what you lack in skill and you can overcome anything. So I give the credit to Jesus for that one.
It's always an honorable answer. Let's talk about working hard versus working smart, or working hard and working smart. Where do you fall on the balance? We've always told, work hard your whole life, work hard, you'll be successful. You come from Iowa, right? You were on a farm. Working hard never made you successful in that context. Yeah. My mom's a school teacher. She worked hard, right? She's broke. Yet working smart without working hard doesn't always follow the equation. Right. So where do you fall in that?
Yeah. Well, you've got to make sure that you're in the right vehicle for the race. If you're in a Formula One race and you show up in a Prius, right? If you're a school teacher trying to become a millionaire, like there's a disconnect there. You're not going to get to Mars in, a paper plane. You've got to have the right vehicle to get you there. So step one is get yourself in the right vehicle. Solar, number one asset class. Dude, even real estate, even life insurance. Heck, cars is so saturated. It's hard to make $1 million selling cars, but you've got to be in an industry where there are people making $1 million. Step one. Step two is you need to, until you know how to work smarter, you've got to be the hardest worker in the room. I see so many people come in and self-sabotage because they have 1 month where they close 5 deals, which is not even that good. And then they're like, oh, dude, have you ever thought about doing online leads? And I'm like, brother, how about you know, I'm the millionaire here. This is the formula. This is the best way for you to dominate and get the most results. Until you know that there's a better way and you have extraordinary results, don't even try to reinvent the wheel. So hard work, you know, Ruben Perez always says that hard work always works. And that is so true. Hard work is king in the right vehicle. And until you've gotten such extraordinary results that you know that there's a better way, keep being the hardest worker. I'm sorry. There are no shortcuts. You got to pay your dues. 10 years in the game, we still knock doors. We still go sell deals. We still put in countless hours on the road. And you do get better, but it takes time to become more efficient, and never let go of the hard work. The moment that you think you're above the work or you're above the grind or the hard work is the moment your ego takes place and you're starting to spiral.
Yeah, I think people really underestimate how much energy and work it takes to actually achieve your goals and dreams. Yeah. I know I did. You know, when I was dreaming in my 20s, I thought I'd be worth $100 million by the age I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
And we're getting there. You know, we're chipping away. We're doing okay.
Yeah.
But people underestimate the amount of work, energy, and sacrifice it really takes to be successful. And I think people are almost frozen by it. You know, you have this goal that you want to accomplish, or you have this fitness target that you're trying to tackle, and things are exciting at first, and things are sexy and they're fresh, and you know, you're hyped up on this new opportunity. You just got your gym membership, or you just started your new solar job, or you just got that new business off the ground, and things are fun for the first week, month, year, couple of years. But to really crack into the top 1% of your industry, or the top 1% of your body, or the top 1% in your wealth journey, like, it's going to take massive sacrifice, commitment, and it's also not going to be fun a lot of times. I think there's and I'm curious your thoughts on this. I think there's this message going around that you have to love what you do. I don't believe that's true.
Big Sean, dude.
There's a lot of things out there
I was talking about
that I don't love doing in our profession. I'm sure you agree as well. But by doing those things I don't love, it allows me to do the things that I do love. So I'd love your perspective on that. That's
any industry, by the way, even performing. You think rappers want to go and perform every other day at shows? It is a grind no matter what. You can fall out of love, out of that, you know, romantic phase of every industry. You will inevitably. And I want to challenge people here. You know, I was in the Marine Corps. I got my black belt in McMap. I was a marathon runner. I've done some challenging things. And when I'm grappling someone, and you get to a certain point where you're grappling each other and you're sweating, and it's all about who wants it more. When you're in a marathon race, or you're running your PFT and you're running neck and neck with somebody, it's all about who wants it more. And you have to be the type of person that digs deep. And when it's no longer fun, when the grappling is no longer fun and you're not in the best position, or you're in a marathon and you know, things are starting to hurt, you've got to be like, I pass people on the uphill. When things get hard, I get harder. You have to have that type of mentality. Otherwise, you're going to fizzle out and someone's going to pass you. Like, life is hard. At least we don't have to bleed out in the battlefield when we're 18 anymore. We just have to like do hard work that isn't super fun all the time. But if you surrender to that, it will get better. You will have breakthroughs. It can't always be night. The sun will come out again. The clouds will go away, and you can fall back in love with it. But if you're always chasing that blissful exuberant feeling that you had at 22 when you got in the game for the first time, you're going to get out of the industry quickly. It's hate to break it to you guys, but that feeling, you know, came and gone, and now discipline sets in.
Yeah.
How bad do you want it?
How bad do you want it? Heart has it's hard to measure, but that's what takes you through the dark nights of the soul, which we all go through if we're chasing something great.
I would say too, I mean, the people that you're surrounded with, I would say give the biggest credit to the people that I'm surrounded with have held me accountable. I've never wanted to let you down, Max, Eric, different, you know, friends and partners, my mom. Like, it would be so shameful and embarrassing for me to pack up and go home, or to not succeed for my friends. Like in the battlefield, right? If you're a 300 soldier, you got your shield up. How humiliating it would be if you were the one that got tired and let your shield down, and your, you know, the platoon got tore apart. You got to think in a military mindset. Capitalism, the marketplace, is a gentleman's warfare. And if you can access that, I think you're going to do really well in business.
Agreed. Let's talk a little bit about the solar landscape. Obviously, we've dedicated the last 10 years of our life, really our whole professional career, to this industry. Yeah. We've seen the change. We've seen the ups and downs. We've made a big change over the last 5 years. Where do you see the landscape of solar right now?
Man, solar it's still fresh. It's still new. It's at less than 10% market penetration nationwide. But if you recall, there's the law of diffusion of innovation, right? And there is a point of product adoption that's called the chasm. And once a product hits the chasm, it really begins to scale and the landscape changes dramatically. But up until then, commissions are through the roof. It takes the most elite warriors to build the industry to get to the chasm. The vast majority of products and services, even good ones, never got to that point. Do you remember what the chasm percentage was?
16%?
13%.
It's close.
13%. Yeah.
Critical mass is coming, baby.
We are very close. We are a few years away from getting there. And I heard a great message from a mentor of mine. He's a pastor up in Seattle. His name's Tracy Armstrong. He talked about platform maturity. And this isn't what people want to hear. People want to hear, hey, what can I put $100 into today that's going to make me financially free for the rest of my life? I'm like, brother, you're asking the wrong questions.
Crypto mentality.
Very crypto mentality, young boy mentality. Instead, you need to find a platform, an industry that's in its infancy, under 13% market penetration, ideally. You need to tie your hands to the mast of the rocket ship, and you need to be a pioneer to get it to that point. And if you can get it to that point, that's how you get stock in Apple. There were people 20 years ago that helped get Apple, that helped get Facebook, that helped get these massively successful businesses now to critical mass. And there's a lot of businesses like that. Solar is one of them. And so it's going to change big time over the next 5-10 years. And guys like us who have been in the trenches and helped build the industry to where it is, we're going to be helping it evolve into the next level. Yeah,
I agree. I think this generation has gotten away from really planting their roots and planting their flag in an industry or a company or something that they believe in. Everyone has that instant gratification mindset. Everyone believes that you need 7 streams of income to be a millionaire, and that's obviously not the case. You need one solid stream to create wealth, and then you can start diversifying a little bit. But it's crazy to me when I tell people, oh, you're in solar. I know 30 solar guys. How long have you been doing it? And I'm like, 10 years. You're like, whoa, you're a dinosaur. Yeah. When it's like, it shouldn't be like that. Like people should plant their flag. Sure, you have to pivot. Max gave me some great advice where he's like, put your head down for 2 years, grind, tunnel vision, pick your head up, make sure the industry's still okay, make sure you still enjoy what you do, make sure there's still upward mobility. If you're all good, put your head down and grind. When so many people have their head up. And to your point, it's the people that really have strong roots in a growing sector or a growing industry that can create massive, massive wealth.
Yeah. 100%.
Attach yourself to the rocket ship, baby.
Attach yourself, dig your roots deep. Might not always be fun and sexy, but just keep digging that well deep. And that's how you build generational wealth. Everyone has a different definition of success. But I think when we talk about success, the first term that comes to my mind is financial freedom. Having so many M's, invested well enough that's giving you good enough residual income where you can live life on your terms. No one can ever put their thumb on you again. And in order to do that, it's going to take minimum a decade, if not 15, 20 years.
Yeah, it's going to take some serious work. It's funny because people are casual about financial freedom. They want it. Mm-hmm. You ask 100 people on the street, do you want to be financially free? Do you not want your boss's thumb on you and get bossed around? And everyone's going to say yes. But no one is actually, I shouldn't say no one, but not many people are actually willing to dedicate a decade, a few decades of their life to never have to sacrifice financially ever again. Yeah. We're not here to say money solves all your problems, but it probably solves about 95% of them. Yeah. And if you can get really good at this thing we call financial literacy, this thing that we call generating capital for your life and creating wealth and making a financial wall around yourself and your family that's so strong, that's impenetrable, you're going to be able to have so much more options, so much more flexibility, and I think a lot more joy in your life, because money is a lot like oxygen. When you don't have it, it's the only thing that you can think about. But when you have it, you don't really spend that much time thinking about it. Yeah. And I'm very focused on creating a life where money is not my main focus. I can focus on enjoying time with my family. I can enjoy my time. I can work on my presence. But the only way to do that is to make sure my bills are paid, to make sure my family's taken care of, and make sure that my responsibilities are handled.
100%. And someone who is born with an unbelievable amount of money or is a trust fund baby will never understand what it's like to not have money. And so to be the type of person that builds it for yourself and experiences the darkness and the light, the trenches and the mountaintop, those are the people that change the world.
Yeah, I think that's the peak of human existence, because I agree with you. Not to hate on anyone that is a trust fund baby or maybe they inherited a company from their family, but I think me and you both agree that in life, it's not what you get, it's who you become. And the road of wealth creation, at least for me, and I'm sure it's been the same for you because I've seen it, has been not just creation monetarily, but it's been my identity. It's grown me spiritually. It's grown, it's tested me in ways that I never thought I could be tested. It's really a personal development journey that so happens to create a lot of money at the end of it. And for those that don't experience that, I believe that you don't go through the things that you need to. And then you create all this wealth if you took the shortcut, or I shouldn't say a shortcut, but if you never went through that journey, if you didn't start at mile 1 and you start at mile 10, you don't have the level of appreciation for the race as the person that ran the whole thing. Yeah. And you have to find that appreciation. You have to find that fulfillment in other areas where I have tied a lot of my happiness and my joy to my progression, not just from a monetary standpoint, but from who I am becoming in the process of this entrepreneurial journey.
100%. You're going to lead your family better. You're going to have a bigger impact on society. And if you're the one who built it, it's a lot less likely to go away. They said that a family wealth typically only lasts 3 generations.
Yeah.
So, making generational wealth is step 1. I feel like that's the easier part. Step 2 is not making shithead kids that are going to squander it and that are going to be, making them realize that you're rich, they're not rich, and that they need to go make their mark on life, and you'll support them. But that is the bigger next level challenge, I believe.
Yeah. Shaq said that. He said,
right.
You're not rich.
Yeah.
I'm rich.
That's right.
I like that. I'm curious your thoughts on this. We're on the topic of professionalism and accomplishment and wealth generation, something that we've sacrificed basically our whole 20s to create, to be in the position that we are. How do we not, or I should say, how do the viewers, because there's a lot of people listening that are probably self-motivated. They're probably out there trying to win, create wealth, increase their lifestyle. How do we not get so lost in the accomplishment where we tie too much of our self-worth to the external accomplishments and not as much to our own internal progress?
Yeah. I mean, something to put into perspective is that you and me and probably every single person that's watching has said that when they accomplish something that they've accomplished at this point, they'll then be happy. I remember thinking about, man, when I make my first 100 grand, when I make my first million in a day, I'll be I'll just be viscerally happy and nothing could ever bug me again. We've all accomplished things already in our life that at one point we said, when I accomplish that, then I'll be happy. And we put that as the final target or a final target in their life. And the reality is that the destination that we keep putting our happiness and our fulfillment and well-being on, or the destination, it's the journey. It's the journey that we're on that creates the fulfillment and the happiness. And if we can't be, the Stoics say, if you can't be happy and fulfilled in this moment with everything that you have right now, you'll never be able to experience it.
Yeah, the goalpost always moves. It's
I always heard people say that. I was like, they're full of shit. They don't know what they're talking about. There's no way. I'll show them. And it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because the accomplishment versus fulfillment conversation is always so interesting because in the Western world, in America, we are very motivated, driven, accomplishment, which we love. Capitalism, it's great compared to maybe some of these Eastern societies that are more focused on meditation and inward and quality of life and so on and so forth. And I don't think there's one better than the other, but I like the idea of infusing some of these philosophies and living the best quality of life. Because at the end of the day, you can't take anything with you. The
just
Egyptians
the
tried, just relationships, the experiences, and the impact in a person that you've become. But On the other side of the coin, there's a lot of people saying that they just want to, the reason they don't want to become rich or the reason they don't want to be successful is because they're so blissfully happy inward that they don't need any of these external earthly possessions. And I would disagree with that. I think that's a cop-out for a lot of people that don't have the courage to actually go after their dreams. It's hard to say, I don't want the wealth, I don't want the success, I don't want the abundance. It's hard to say that if you haven't actually experienced it.
Right.
Who's the actor that has that famous quote? Jim Carrey, his famous quote, I hope that everyone can experience success, wealth, and fame to realize that's not what's life about. He can say that because he's actually experienced and tasted it. But the person that's never actually experienced it because they haven't had the commitment, the courage, or the sacrifice discipline in order to accomplish it, I don't really take that truthfully. Even Buddha was a prince before he decided to become enlightenment. He felt all the earthly desires that the world had to offer, and then he chose a different path. So my point is, I think the people that are listening, I think wealth and freedom and accomplishment is a worthy race. It's a worthy journey to take yourself on. Yeah. Just make sure you don't completely lose yourself in the process of that, because you don't want to get to the end of whatever your financial ladder, that accomplishment looks like, and then feel some type of way about it.
Yeah. I mean, when we live our life by poor standards, financially, value-wise, we inflict damage on everyone that's around us. And how we used to provide for our families was going out with sword and shield and bow and arrow and hunting and killing and taking ground. And now we do it through the fiat system. That has saved more lives than, any other system. And it's also brought more people out of poverty than any other system. You can be super happy being poor, but I've seen a lot happier and healthier, more fulfilled families and relationships and less broken societies that went and conquered and became, and less that just survived.
Agreed. Let's talk a little bit about fitness. Ever since I've known you the last 10 years, you've always been very focused on your body, focused on your energy.
You checking me out?
And making sure you look good.
Thanks.
Making sure you're taking care of yourself. I was a little bit later on that journey. I always had the mindset where let me create wealth first, let me get rich, and then I can hire the nutritionist, hire the personal trainers, have the best food, have the professional chef. What I didn't realize was how you do one thing's how you do all things. If I'm neglecting my fitness in that area of my life, I'm probably have blind spots in other areas as well. So talk to me about the importance of fitness and what entrepreneurs or people that are trying to go do big things, why it's such an important piece of that puzzle.
Totally. I mean, fitness is the gateway to discipline, right? So if you truly want to become more disciplined in your life, fitness is going to open all those doors. So that's step one. If you want to become more disciplined, have a cleaner room and have a bigger bank account, and it starts with physical fitness, movement, chemically, you're talking like actual chemicals. When you go work out and sweat, it gets rid of the stress hormone cortisol. Like there's actual chemical benefits. Then there's just mental benefits of self-worth and self-identity. And I do hard things, so I'm a more high value person than the people that I'm going to influence. And then number 3 is other people are going to respond to you differently when you look more imposing and you look more disciplined than if you look like a marshmallow. So you're going to get 3 massive benefits by simply getting up, drinking water, moving, getting morning sunlight. Like it's relatively simple. I think a lot of people say, I need a trainer and I need to go work out 45 or an hour or 2 hours. And a lot of people, when they start their physical journey, they crush themselves in 2 weeks. They go way too hard. They don't hydrate and they don't sleep and they don't get enough sunlight and they just crush their body and they, burn out after 2 weeks. If you can get over the 2-week mark of physical fitness, your body actually starts getting into its second wind and becomes the recovery process becomes a lot easier after that second week if you do it consistently and you're hydrating and sleeping and stuff. And so, I mean, that's what I would say, dude. Those 3 massive benefits seem pretty good to me. What's holding people back? I don't know. Staying up late probably and drinking too much soda.
Yeah. Doing the things they know they shouldn't be doing, which is chipping away at their confidence and integrity. Therefore, when they try and make a decision like taking care of their body, they don't have the discipline to follow through because they haven't built that reputation with themselves.
I would say I remember this, and on my journey, I have been excited and in a rush to go to sleep. many times because I knew the journey that I was on and I knew where I was headed. I know that's a weird thing to hear, but when we get home at night, we should be in a rush or excited to get into our bed at 8, 9, 10 o'clock so that we can wake up at 6 or 7 o'clock. Like mornings are, I think Wiz Khalifa said it. He says that I used to think staying up late was like boss man stuff. And then I realized that waking up early is the real grown man shit. And that is so true. Waking up early is the most serene, peaceful, fulfilling, satisfying feeling in the world. And I hope that everybody experiences I'm not in the 5 a.m. club, but the 6 a.m., 7 a.m. club, dude, it is, that's the next level.
Early to bed, early to rise keeps the man wise,
healthy, wealthy,
and wise.
Yeah, that's right.
Someone said that smarter than us, but it's very applicable.
So true.
Let's talk a little bit about Sunder, dude. I don't think this would be a good podcast if we didn't plug Sunder a little bit. Yeah. Obviously, a company that we've both dedicated the last 5 years, really 10 years of our life to. Why do you think we are where we are? Why do you think we're dominating? And where do you feel like we're positioned right now in the industry?
Why are we at where we are? Number one is that we've stayed together as a unit. We haven't allowed egos, and we've had a lot of hard conversations. We've had, hard conversations, fights. We've had ugly moments, but we haven't allowed those ugly moments to tear us apart or other people tear us apart. So that's step one, is that if you're a band of brothers, you can't let an outside force or an inside force, tear the ship apart, right? Integrity comes from the whole being able to sustain stress and weight. And we have extremely high integrity as an organization, as friends, as brothers. And we are positioned to, just like cell phones, right? People used to sell cell phones door to door. I don't know if you know that. They would sell these cell phones that came in like briefcases for like $3,000 a pop. You'd make whatever, $500, $1,000. Now people make what, $20? At Verizon, what do you make when you sell a cell phone? $20, $50 when you activate an account or whatever. Yeah. The industry is the solar industry is going to go to brick and mortar and, Verizon type adoptions. And we are positioned to become one of the 3 big solar companies in America. We're already one of the biggest. We are definitely one of the best. And I believe that we'll be one of the top 3 that helps consolidate the industry. And leaders like us will be helping lead that charge. And we can still help a lot of our friends and brothers get, units in that business and become a part of that wave and movement. They just have to be in a rush for greatness. Because if you're not, it's going to come.
Agreed. I think our model is very interesting because for those that follow the solar industry, the last couple of years have been really hard. It's been hard for us. It's been hard for a ton of people. There's been big companies, big finance companies, big banks, big installers that are dropping left and right. Yeah. Last year it felt like every month there was a big installer going out of business, which isn't great for the industry as a whole. I don't wish any of our competition to go out of business. Maybe one or two.
The reason why companies go out of business, Steve, is not because they run out of money. It's because their leaders run out of energy. Yes. That is 100% true. And Sunder isn't greedy. There aren't just 2 owners that are hoarding everything and, doing it all themselves. We're pretty wide. We have a very wide base and a lot of energy. And, you can be the best model out there, but if you and the founders run out of energy, that's when it's over. Yeah.
They talk about the infinite game versus the finite game, right? The finite game, obviously, there's a set winner and loser based on the rules that were established pre-game. Everyone understands in baseball, if once the 10th inning comes, right, after the 9th inning, there's no 10th inning, the game's over. In the infinite game, which is what business is, there aren't set players, set rules, or established outcomes. It's simply what team within the game will outlast the other team until that team runs out of resources or until they run out of the will to continue to keep the game going, which is what we see a lot in business when companies BK or they do a restructuring. Is typically because they either run out of resources, they run out of money, or like you said, they've run out of the will to continue to play the game. Yeah. And I think in our model, the reason why we're positioned so well is because we aren't tied necessarily to one industry. Sure, we're in solar today because I believe it's the best product in the country to sell right now at a high level where you can make a win-win-win, a win for the customer, a win for the economy and for the planet, and a win for obviously the sales rep with handsome commissions. But we are not tied to one specific sector or industry. If something happened to solar tomorrow, which I don't think it will, right? I think we have a good 5 to 10 year runway of really, really good solar years, but we could pivot quickly, and we're very nimble. We don't have high overhead. Like you said, no one's taking a bunch of money. Most of the money stays in the business. Yeah. So being flexible and being nimble in a volatile time and a season in an industry, I think has the massive advantage because you're never pegged to one ship and your stocks are diversified versus one solar installer or one alarm installer. We can basically move and groove based on where the demand of the market takes us.
Totally. 100%. Yeah, we're nimble. We didn't start our own installer, thank goodness. We've built the industry's first multi-installer, multi-TPO product, multi-financer platform. And it was expensive. It's complicated. It's hard. That's why no one's been able to do it so far, but we've done it and it's only going to continue to get better. And that's integrity. That's integrity right there. Not selling out and taking the easy way and throwing your guys to the wolves, but doing the hard thing, which is usually the right thing.
Well said, dude.
I'll say this too. I think a lot of companies go out of business because good men stop telling the truth to their guys. Their guys stop telling the truth to their leaders. And then there's this, oh no, when good men stop telling the truth to each other and holding each other accountable, that's when businesses start to erode. And they start telling people, oh, you're the regional manager of the universe. And they start omitting for people's faults and they start allowing mediocrity and they start allowing sub-performance. That's when businesses start getting in trouble. I think at Sunder, we've done a really good job of loving our people enough to have hard conversations to say, you're better than this. These are your goals. This is what you've, done, which is going to get you this goal. And so you either need to lower your goals that are on par with what you're putting out right now, or you need to increase your work ethic. And I think that's something that we've done really well is we've never sold out and started lying to our guys and just accepting them how they are. And I think that culture of accountability is what keeps us strong.
It's important, dude. I mean, we really do have the model of you build the people and the people will build the business. And part of building people is having those uncomfortable, direct, hard conversations, not because they're fun and comfy, but because that is calling them forward. And that's what they need in that moment to continue to level up.
That's real.
Dude, it's been great. We can obviously chat. We got some stuff to do after this. My last question for you. Obviously, we've known each other for a while. I've been able to see the journey, which has been super cool. You've been able to see my journey over the last decade. If you can go back in time to Michael Gutschmidt in 2014, fresh out of MLM, just hungry and a little bit naive, just ready to take on the world, compared to where you are today, a lot more wiser, a lot more posture, a lot more mature, what would the Gooch today tell the Gooch from 10, 11 years ago?
Obviously, to invest every single dime and dollar into Bitcoin.
It's a no-brainer.
Obviously. But the other thing that I would tell me is, I think that when people left the business, I took it so personal. And people come for a season, they come for a reason, and some will stay for life. And the people that come for a season or reason, will get out and they'll come back. And I wish that I'd been more mature and not taking it so personal and been like, if you're not with us, you're against us. And I didn't have the tools to navigate those conversations, but I wish I had been better at loving people while they were here, loving them on the way out, leaving the door open and inviting them back. The reason that I lost good people in the business is because I was too scared or I was too late having hard conversations with them. That was literally it. Because I was afraid of an outcome. I was afraid they wouldn't think that we were homies anymore. If I said, bro, you're on this trajectory, that's not okay. There would be big gaps of, I would say publicly, here's the standard. And then later down the road, I would have that conversation. It was too late. I wish that I had hard conversations earlier and more often with people that I cared about. So that's what I got.
Dude, love it. Where can people get connected with you if they want to get in contact?
Michael Scott Gutschmidt, Instagram, Megawatt Millionaire. Look me up. Love to connect with you guys. We are on a journey to make, dozens more multimillionaires in the solar industry. The wave is still fresh and it's a growth wave. This is something that you want to be on. Come join us, y'all. Join sunderenergy.com. Give myself our own plug. Yeah, let's go. Dude, appreciate you hopping on. Thanks, man.